No, I read all the material.
So the answer is yes, that's correct.
That is correct. Board members, I'd like to call to order the 894th meeting of the Board of Directors of Alexandria Sanitation Authority, now known as AlexRenew Enterprises. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it appears?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2.23711 of Code of Virginia. Move the board of this authority to go into closed meeting. The authority for this closed meeting is found in section 2.23711. And the purpose of the closed session is to discuss and consider issues of employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, so on and so forth. Do I have a second to the motion?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're going to close session for about a half an hour and come back into our open meeting. Bill and Aaron,
I think it's probably just an Alexandria only.
Alexandria
I'm waiting for just a few minutes. Did you get a sandwich?
let's give
At least tiny.
Aaron.
We'll get some beer.
You won't need to be able to laugh though. Thank you, Bill and Aaron.
Oh, you got it to print out.
Board members, do I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Beal, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, I need to take a roll call vote for each of you to certify that the only topics we discussed in closed session were related to subsection 1, and that is discussion of personnel-related items. Please confirm. Mr. Beal? Aye. Mr. Dickinson?
Aye.
Ms. Caldarelli?
Aye.
Mr. Donnelly?
Aye.
Mr. Hill? Aye. We are back in open session. Let's jump right to the consent. Mona, do we have any members of the public?
No.
Let's jump right into the consent agenda. We've got 2 minutes, both our meeting on April 19th, but also the public hearing on May 7th. Give you a moment to take a look. Any discussion on minutes? Good. Motion to approve the minutes of those 2 meetings.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Dickinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's jump right to an update from our Finance and Audit Committee. Mr. Donald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Audit Committee met on May 4th. All members were present. We received a staff briefing on the proposed budget, along with a fair amount of discussion, questions, and answers from all members. We also held a public hearing on May the 7th. We again got a very fine staff presentation. No public comment, or there was no public in attendance. No public comment was received. However, the board or the meeting was recorded and was available for public viewing on our website. Couple of the budget highlights. First, the budget is balanced, which is something that is always the first thing we need to know. We have a proposed operating budget of $30.4 million, a capital budget of of $175.8 million, and with the I&I contributions on all funds budget of $221 million. It's a 7% increase, which also includes a 6.5% rate increase, which was previously approved by the board. 80% of the budget is actually committed in some fashion or another, and thus is really sort of non-discretionary. It's debt service. It's encumbered by existing agreements such as Fairfax County, our agreement with Fairfax County, bond covenants, as well as the prudent financial policies of this board that have all guided the formation of the budget. In addition, 20% is operation and maintenance, and that carries the bulk of our increase. And that's largely driven by inflationary pressures, supply chain, and the need for this organization to be competitive on the personnel front. And so I think that staff has done a very good job not only in assembling the budget that meets the needs of the organization. They've also, I think, done a great job in terms of briefing us and providing us the materials that we need to make a decision. So I'd like to compliment staff for their hard work in putting together the budget. So that's basically the report of the Finance and Audit Committee.
Thank you, that was very complete update. Madam CEO, do you want to speak to our budget, which we have to vote on tonight?
Certainly. I don't think there's much that staff can add to that very concise report. Thank you, Mr. Donovan.
Concise, you've never used that to describe me in the past?
Take it while you can get it.
Yes, right.
Yes, staff has put before you, based on the input from the board, from the public, and from the public hearing, the final recommended FY23 fiscal year budget. You have that in your package. We believe that it's ready to go if you are willing, and if it's the board's pleasure, you may vote to approve it this evening. You do have until June. It would go into effect July 1st. By voting on it tonight, it gives staff a little extra time to get everything in place and get it ready. Given that there was no public input on this after a number of communication outreaches, staff is pretty comfortable that the public is well aware of it, and we're comfortable with what we've presented.
Mr. Chairman, in order to move the item along a little bit and to enable discussion, I'd like to go ahead and put forward a motion that we adopt the proposed budget as presented by the general manager and staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
You got it, second. All in favor?
Very well. Is there any discussion?
Is there any discussion?
Find this work.
I'm good.
Thumbs up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very well done.
Thank you.
Our new chairman of the Finance and Audit Committee. Very well done. Thank you. Let's jump right into the outcomes update. Madam CEO.
Yes, Mr. Chair. You have my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to work to answer them for you. A few things I wanted to bring to your attention that are not on the report. First of all, we have a stakeholder advisory group meeting on this coming Thursday evening. It is virtual. It's from 7 to 9 if you're interested. You can let us know. We do have, I don't know if you recall, and for some of the new board members, AlexRenew is actually its own polling place. And so elections are held in June. Polling.
Polling, okay.
You can go vote.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
Okay. just helping you out. And they use the lobby. And usually it's in June and November. This year, because of Juneteenth being on the 20th, the elections are on the 21st, which also happens to be our board meeting. After looking into precedent with the city has not moved some of its own council meetings and other planning meetings and things like that. I open it up to the board's pleasure, we can try to move the June board meeting to the following day, the 22nd or 23rd, or we can keep it on the 21st. All we will do is make sure that all of you and any public that would come to the meeting on the 21st would come in through the garage, go through that corridor, and we would block off the area for the elevators. So you would go right in the elevators, and that would keep all of the public, as they already do, in the lobby area over on the other side to vote. So there's a fine system that's already set up and been in use for a couple of years. But I put that forward to you, whatever your pleasure is. We don't see that there's any impact with holding the board meeting that evening. And sorry, I just found out about this today, but I wanted to make sure that I brought it to your attention. Normally I would have it briefed in the package.
What is the mood of the board?
I agree.
Just stay with the date.
Stay the course?
Yeah, stay the course.
Stay the course.
All right, thank you. We will do so. And just a reminder, you may have received in your emails, if not, it went to your junk email. July 14th, is that the correct date, or is it the 13th?
Or
14th?
for what?
The welcome ceremony.
14th.
14th, thank you. July 14th in the morning is our TBM welcome ceremony. It will not be as grand as the groundbreaking. Basically, it's a 5 or 10 minute thing where we say thanks, here she is, break a bottle of fine water or wine or champagne on her, and unveil her name, right, and go into why she was named what she was. And then everybody will have a chance to go touch it and take a selfie and do all that with it. So there's some esteemed guests. It's basically the same guest list, just not a lot of talking, more about the TBM and the celebration of having it here and getting ready. So I wanted to make sure that was, if you haven't gotten an email, check your junk mail. If you still don't have it, just contact me directly and I'll get you that in.
So
save
it was the
date.
13th or 14th?
It's the 14th.
14th.
It's a Thursday,
I thought the invitation said 9 to 11.
9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Yes, it's in the morning. Yeah, it's a very low key. It's really cool because we take her name off. That's the cool part. And you can go and we have a little selfie stand set up and you'll get to see the shaft and where she's gonna get dropped in. I know I'm nerding out, I'm sorry, but it is
No,
kind
I'm
of
with you. I really am.
if you need to take, PTO, I wanted to make sure you were ahead of time so you could get that.
Will there be a blessing with a St. Barbara?
No, there's no blessing. They don't want her. There's not a big event, but they will take St. Barbara down and she gets put at the bottom of the shaft.
Okay.
And apparently I learned today that they all touch her when they go into the tunnel, correct? And
Oh, really?
yeah, that's the protection piece. So
Tradition.
the things you learn on this job and being part of the board, who knew? So wanted to put that out for you. And lastly, if you've looked, well, we'll talk about it in the financial report. So that's my report. If there's any questions on the AlexRenew dashboard, happy to take those or pass them along to Mr. Carl.
Any public reaction to the impact on Duke Street?
So far, no, nothing negative. When we get people out talking at the sip and sees, everybody's really positive about. They're looking forward to seeing the end result, and I think they feel hopeful because something's actually happening, right? They see progress and they see that construction. And they know that we're really trying to communicate with them.
Any reaction to the considerable construction going on along Post Run?
Surprisingly, no. So, yeah.
I think everybody's been so desirous of that getting cleaned up at some point.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
That's what they see.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's welcomed. It's like I was a little taken aback when I saw all the invasive removal, like, wow, it's naked. And most people are really understanding, right? They've gone to the website or they've clicked on the QR code and they understand what's happening. And yeah, they see that you've shown that picture over and over again of how cool it's gonna look when it's done. And that's what they want. They want something that brings hope and meaning to
I
them.
talked to Mac Myers the other day. I said, what about Hoof's Run? He said, oh, that's great, you got rid of all those junk trees. Great.
And he's getting a number of wayfaring signs in there, so,
Yeah.
you know, which is really cool that we can, you know, bring that oral history down and get it written down and share it with other people and other generations. So there's just a lot of cool stuff that at the end of the day, yeah, it costs a lot of money, but we're
And
getting
Going down there fairly frequently, the number of people who stop and still look at that sign and spend, maybe a minute there looking at it. The education has been really well done.
And it's a golden opportunity, so it's important to make the most of it, right? And it goes back to the vision of people being able to touch the water and really feeling one with it. There's all kinds of avenues to make that happen. Right? And no, you're never gonna see equipment like this ever again in the city. So it's really a cool chance to share that with people.
I have to comment how good the website is, by the way. I spent the weekend going through all the videos and looking at the rocket ship. And that is an incredible piece of machine. I would be curious eventually how many people actually go to the website. I don't need the answer now.
Yeah, we'll put it in the
Nothing elaborate,
dashboard for you next month.
That's a considerable, it's a very informative site. And if you want to learn about what AlexRenew does, what River Renew's about, it is about as good as you can get.
Yeah, and we drive people there as much as we can so that they can keep up with it, because it is a fast-paced job. We also have the monthly financial report. Happy to answer any questions. I will note that on the delinquencies piece, you will see an uptick in that number. We're watching that closely. We have not yet, Virginia American has put in place their shut-off policy. We haven't done that yet, but we are looking at probably starting that back up in the fall. Our brethren in the area have already started that shut-offs. We want to start slowly, get the word out, allow people 60 days to try to pay off their arrearages. What we don't want to do is allow people to build up huge arrearages because they know they won't be shut off. So we're working through that. Also at that same time, if you remember me talking a few months ago about the LIWAP program, the low income water assistance, that should be, if the state can get their act together, that should be starting in that October, November timeframe. So we're trying to coalesce around that to
And
make
that's,
sure.
and if I remember your presentation, that's gonna be a referral from us to,
It's a referral from the department that the city's.
well, but I mean, if you have a delinquent account, you can refer them.
We can share that with, yeah, they'll have that information,
Okay.
The Department of Health and Human Services, yes. Yeah, that's all integrated in and those will be the first
Because
people to get
they're,
tapped.
my understanding is they're administering it.
Yes.
We can direct our folks there for relief.
We can give that as an option, but they'll start first with who they have on their rosters.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll get that be tapped into that information.
Any other questions on the financials?
Good job, Ms. McIntyre is meeting all of the board's objectives.
Of course.
There you go.
Very good. If there's no further discussion on outcomes,
I will direct you to one last thing. We have an updated board calendar. We're trying to keep this updated for you. One thing I wanted to bring to your attention, I'm a little off on my dates for in October and November. You just may wanna look at your schedules, we'll know a little bit more in July. That is when the interviews for the general manager interviews will be. It's probably more going to fall in that week of October 31st or November 7th, I think is what Polly Heyer had indicated to us. So I just wanted to make that, put that on your radar so you can try to keep your schedules clear and know when that's coming.
Is there any further discussion from the board? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Ms. Donnelly, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a great beginning of summer.
Yeah.
And I hope,
It's here.
I know everyone's busy at AlexRenew, but I hope you can at least enjoy the good weather while you're digging.
You mean today?
Today.
It's to the tunnel boring machine when we're not, when we're done with it.
Cuts all the way The contractor
across.
actually owns it, like,
And
so,
so
actually
goes all the way
we've
through.
actually bought the cutter head back from him, and we're gonna put it in our superstructure as a piece of artwork on the wall. And then the shell, we'll just take that out, and they'll either get it refurbished or sell it for scrap.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll.
This is the calendar.
So, you know.
July.
Next Friday.
It's Tuesday. Actually, it's like if I meet.
Yeah.
They've been some pretty,
Take care.
pretty much,
That's good.
as long as there's nothing controversial.
Well, that was a short one for you. Saying very well. Interesting.
Quite like it before. Hey.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Madam Gentleman.
Plan for.
Right, yeah. Well, good, great.